When you're standing in the gear aisle, holding a Strat that looks sleek in black and feeling the weight of an older body in your hands, the first question that pops up is always the same. Is this the guitar that will actually make a difference in my everyday playing? Or am I just paying for the name? I get that hesitation because I've been there, scrolling through specs, watching endless demo videos, and then wondering if the money I'm about to spend is really going to translate into better tone, smoother transitions, or just another pretty piece of furniture. That's why I'm going to walk you through the Fender American Professional 2 Stratocaster with a maple fingerboard, focusing on the kind of real-world details that matter after you plug it in, not just the headline claims. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about who this instrument is built for. If you're a gigging player who needs a reliable workhorse that can handle a full night of set changes without surprising you, the American Professional 2 checks a lot of boxes. The Alder body gives a balanced resonance that sits nicely between the classic Fender chime and a little extra mid-range bite, which means you can go from clean country-style riffs to gritty blues overdrive without feeling like you're fighting the guitar's natural voice. On the other hand, if you're a bedroom hobbyist who only picks up a guitar once a week, the price point might feel steep compared to a Player Series Strat that still offers solid tones for casual practice. One of the practical strengths that shows up once you start playing is the neck. The maple neck paired with a maple fingerboard feels a bit stiffer than the more common rosewood options you see on entry-level models. In a real-world jam session, that stiffness translates to a tighter feel under your hand, which many seasoned players say helps with precision when you're bending strings or playing fast runs. The 9.5-inch radius is a sweet spot for both chordal work and lead playing, so you won't notice the cave feel that some older Strats have when you try to throw in a wide bend. The only downside is that the maple fingerboard can feel a touch colder under your fingers in a chilly rehearsal space, which some players find a minor annoyance compared to the slightly warmer feel of rosewood. The pickup configuration is another area where the American Professional 2 tries to balance tradition with modernity. Fender's V-Mod single coils are positioned to reduce the hum you typically get from vintage-style pickups, while still delivering that iconic Strat sparkle. In my own testing, the bridge pickup cut through a mix nicely when I was playing over a distorted rhythm guitar, giving me clarity without sounding thin. The middle and neck pickups, however, sit a bit lower in output, which is great for clean tones, but can require you to crank the amp a tad more if you want a richer, fuller sound in a live setting. If you rely heavily on high-gain tones, you might find yourself reaching for an overdrive pedal sooner than you would with a humbucker-laden model. What really matters in day-to-day use is how the hardware holds up. The 2-point tremolo system on this Strat feels smoother than the classic 6-screw bridge, especially after a few weeks of regular playing. It stays in tune reasonably well when you throw in subtle vibrato, but you'll notice a bit of drift if you go for heavy dive bombs, something that's fairly typical for a Fender tremolo. The locking nut isn't a factory feature, so if you plan to do aggressive whammy bar tricks, you might want to upgrade it later. For most rhythm and lead players, the stock setup provides a comfortable balance of stability and expressiveness. Another practical consideration is the weight. At just under 9 pounds, the guitar is light enough to carry around for a full day of gigs, but still feels substantial enough that it doesn't feel flimsy when you're on stage. The black finish with the subtle sparkle adds a professional look without being overly flashy, which is a point that some gigging musicians appreciate when they need to blend into a band's aesthetic rather than stand out as a solo act. Now, let's address the value proposition. The American Professional 2 sits in a price bracket that often forces you to compare it against both lower-priced player models and higher-end custom shops. What you're paying for here is not just the nameplate, it's the combination of a hand-finished Alder body, a meticulously carved maple neck, and the V-Mod pickup system that aims to reduce noise while preserving character. If you're a player who values that incremental tonal nuance and a neck that feels like it was made for fast playing, the extra dollars can be justified. However, if your primary goal is just to get a functional Strat that sounds decent for practice, A Player Series or even a Squier Classic vibe will get you there for a fraction of the cost. In terms of weaknesses, the biggest practical drawback is the lack